Hi, I'm Hannah G, and this year for ISM I did secondary education as it relates to U.S. history. Oh, there we go. Alright, so a little bit about me. I strive to be the best daughter, sister, and leader I can. My family means a lot to me, and I enjoy being around them and hanging out with them. A couple of traits that I would use to describe myself is trustworthy, bold, honest, and headstrong. I believe in some of these things because I don't like to take no for an answer, and I like to power through and get things done. Some of the activities, like I said earlier, I'm devoted to my family, church, sports, and music. I'm a leader in my church, and I enjoy that role. I played softball, but my brother plays baseball, and my entire family is just very sports related. So I enjoy watching sports with all of them. I'm pretty good at analyzing whatever game you need. It's the only way I talk to half my family. So I really enjoy sports. And then music, I play harp and piano and guitar, but that's like self-taught. And I really enjoy playing those two things, and I've had success in that, so it's enjoyable. What's most important to me is the leadership that I play in my church youth group. I think it's really important to have strong seniors, especially that middle schoolers or even underclassmen can look up to. That's something that I take seriously and I am passionate about. Some of my other interests include hanging out with my family, watching and going to sporting events, playing piano and harp, as I said earlier. My quote for ISM this year is, "I am not what has happened to me, I am what I choose to become." And like I said earlier, I'm very trustworthy, bold, honest, and headstrong. So when it comes to my future, I control it. Nobody else does. And so I get over the past pretty easily, and I control my own destiny. And I think that quote really sums me up. And that's a picture of my family. We're cute, I know. So for my topic, as I said earlier, excuse me, it's secondary education as it relates to U.S. history. It's me and my dad. We're cute. Adorable. So secondary education, it's high school. It's like 8th or 7th through 12th. And obviously U.S. history is U.S. history. In the state of Texas, the curriculum starts in like the early colonization period, which is like early 1600s. Yeah, around there. Why did I choose this? I have a passion and a love for teaching and history. So I feel like the most enjoyable thing in my life is history, which is kind of sad. I'm a little bit of a nerd like that. I really enjoy learning about it, reading new things. For example, I got asked a couple weeks ago, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, to do the academic UIL for history, and Coach Coker asked me like 2 weeks before the test or whatever, and I'm not a good test taker. So I was really nervous about it. He didn't tell me what I needed to study. He just gave me like a sheet of paper and a book and was like, enjoy. I'll see you on the 11th. And I was, thanks. All right. So I actually didn't do that bad. We got like 4th or 5th out of the tests, and I've never taken that, so I don't know if that's good or bad. But I really enjoyed like the 500-page book that I had to read to take it, and I enjoyed studying over that, and that was just something I enjoyed. And then for teaching, like I said, I'm in my youth group, and I work at Alphabest, which is an after-school daycare program. And I had kindergarten, now I teach 4th and 5th grade, so I got a good wide range of them. And every day the grades rotate, so we teach curriculum, and my primary grade is 4th and 5th grade. But then Monday through Friday, the grades go from teacher to teacher to take technology or language arts or fitness, and then drama. They have those 4. So I teach technology, and I get to see the different groups every day. So it's very cool to see, and I love being able to interact with them. It's also showed me I am clearly not cut out for elementary school, but it's still a lot of fun. And then my passion was caused because my dad and the experiences I've had. Like I said, I've just really grown to love history. It's something that I'm very, very passionate about. And with teaching, it kind of just fits really well. And like I said, my dad caused this. It's something we can bond over. So where my research started in the first semester, I did the career outlook assessment, and that was quite depressing for a girl that's not a coach and wants to be a high school history teacher. Those jobs are limited. So that was just frustrating sort of to see. And then I did the 7 interviews, the informational interviews that we were required to do, all within like a time span of 4 days. And this was back in like September. And that just seemed really like quick and a good initiation into ISM. The next thing I did was write assessments after each of those interviews right after I did the interview. So that way it was still fresh on my brain and I had a good like analysis of how the interview actually went. After that, I tried to figure out a lot of the teaching lingo. There's a lot of weird like acronyms and words I'd never heard before. Like, anyone know what a PLC is? Yeah, I didn't until I looked it up. So it was very interesting to see, like, to decode everything. So some of my interviews were Miss Allie Webb. She teaches here at Frisco. She is the AP U.S. history teacher, as well as, I think she has like 1 regular class maybe this year. I could be wrong with that. And then I did Miss England, and she also teaches here. She also teaches a push in regular U.S. She taught she taught economics last year. And so it was interesting to see how she liked switching subjects, and if she liked it, if she liked going from seniors to juniors, what was the difference. It was just very eye-opening to see her differences. And then I had Mr. Fain, and he is over at Heritage. He does AP Euro, which is European, and he really likes AP European. He really likes like learning new things. And my mentor and her colleagues make fun of me now because I thought he was just very intimidating and like sort of cocky, I guess. I don't really know how to describe him. He was just very like matter of fact, and it was very intimidating. And they told me that later on, my mentor and her colleagues told me that he does that like just to get a kick out of, like, he thinks it's funny. It's like, awesome. Okay, thanks. So then I did my current mentor, Miss Snyder. She's over at Independence, and she teaches AP US, AP Psych, and regular US. So she has 4 like preps. And then I did Miss Decker, who is just a regular US teacher, and she was interesting to talk to because she has a family of like 7. She has 5 kids. Yeah, that's a lot of kids. So it was interesting to see like how to be a teacher and still balance 5 children. It's a lot. After her, I had Mr. John Irish, who is an AP writer for the College Board. He wrote the AP U.S. history test. He was one of 6 in the nation that did that, and it was interesting to see his insight on things. And my last one was Miss Rosenfeld. She's over at Centennial. She also does U.S. and she does AP U.S. and then her main one is government. She mainly teaches seniors, and she's also a department head. So it was interesting to see what she had to say. So what I learned about the assessments and the interviews I did. The first thing that I was told to look up was what a 504 student is. I had never heard of 504 students. I didn't know what it was. I have dyslexia, but other than that, it's not severe and I don't need help or anything. So because of that, I wasn't ever introduced to 504. A lot of the kids that I had been friends with never said, oh, hey, I'm 504. Like, that just wasn't something you talked about. So a 504 student is anybody with a permanent or temporary disability. So you can go on a like temporary 504 plan if you like break an arm, can't write, break a hand, something like that. Or it could be with like diabetes, learning disabilities, anything. Back in the late 70s, this was passed to make everything more equal, make education more equal. This was after the Civil Rights Movement, so everything was just progressively becoming more about equality, and this was another great change that was made. I learned why teachers are mainly women. Back in the day, way back when, it was mainly men that were like in the schoolrooms, because it was just like one big room with K through 12, and you taught everyone. And then around Civil War time, the men had to go off to war, clearly, and so the women came in and took their spots, taught all the kids, were very nurturing and really enjoyed it. And because of that, the women kind of just stayed and didn't move when the men came back from war. And the men just went into the administrative positions. And that's still sort of prominent today. You see more males that are like principals or stuff like that, but it's definitely gotten more advanced than that. For the different kinds of teaching styles, it's definitely changed over the years. Back in the early to late 1800s, it was more sit at a desk, you read out of a book, you do these problems, you're there, you go home and you farm. Like, education was not the most important thing. And then as we got more modern, as the years went on, it got more important to actually teach the kids and actually have them enjoy what they're learning. And instead of being more disciplinarian and more authoritative, it became more about group work and presenting or letting the students talk, and the teacher gives their input, not the teacher talk and the students sit and listen. Being a teacher is more about than just being in the classroom. One of the women that I did an interview with, Miss Decker, she said that it's about like 40-60 with classroom and outside of the classroom. Probably 60% is the outside work, 40% is in the classroom, because there's a lot of work that being a teacher that us as students we don't see. There's paperwork. If someone fails, it's way too much work. Like, it's a lot of work. There's a lot of paperwork. You have to go to meetings. You have to go to have tutoring sessions before and after school. You're required to have so many things by the district. There's just a lot of extra hours that you don't necessarily know when you sign up to be a teacher. But with this being said, you also need to learn to put your work down, and when you're at home, be at home. Don't have just like one life. It needs to be separate. And then lastly, Mr. Irish told me that you need to continue to learn yourself. He has like 3 masters and he's still going. He's taking classes at SMU, and he said that it was very important that if you know your stuff, then your students will know their stuff, because you're not wrong. So it was just very interesting to learn about what he said there. And so, as I said earlier, Miss Emily Snyder is my mentor. Excuse me. She grew up in Champaign County, Illinois, which is like mid-Illinois, around there. She worked in Chicago in advertisement before changing her career path and earning her master's in history education. So that was one of the reasons why I picked Miss Snyder, because if you know anything about where I want to live, I don't want to be in Texas at all, even remotely, ever again. So Chicago is really where I would love to be. I love it there. My dad went to college there. I visit at least once every other year. It's my favorite place on earth. I love it. And she taught there, so I just thought it was so cool. Like, she grew up there. That's like where she's most comfortable. And she has so much to tell me about Chicago and how to be a teacher there. So she got her master's in history education at DePaul University, which is in like Chicago area. And she did her student teaching in an urbanized setting. So this is like SOC times 10. There's like pregnancy programs, what did she say, like drug programs. So this is like going to an alternative school, but it being actual school. So she said it was very eye-opening to see all these different like walks of life and how you can really help each and every one of them. And school wasn't necessarily just about education. It was about either like getting them out of their house and away from a negative environment, or just helping them or being a support system for them. She said it was very rewarding. And then straight after she did her like student teaching program, she did her actual student teaching in a private Catholic school in like outside of Chicago. So going from one extreme to another was just really hard for her, she said. And it gave her a great background and foundation for coming to Frisco. So she then married her college sweetheart and moved to Texas and began her career in teaching. She's only been teaching for, this is her 7th year. She's been teaching for 6 years. And she taught originally at Pioneer, which is how I met her. She was my 8th grade literature teacher. And then she moved to Heritage, and then now she's at Independence. So she teaches, like I said earlier, U.S. History, AP U.S. History, Psychology, and AP Psychology. It's very interesting to see like all the different preps she has to do and how much work is required to go into each of those, especially with all the meetings that go along with each of those. For U.S. History, they have department meetings like once every other week. It's very often. And if you have a conference period that you need to grade or something like that, it's kind of taken with all the extra work you have to do. So then I wanted to put my pictures of my original work on here. Sadly, my computer would not let me. But I did a Modern America unit. Modern America is from Nixon to now. So, well, like 2009. So I started off with learning everything I could about all of the presidencies from Nixon to Obama. His first term, we don't need to know his second term quite yet. And I don't like Modern America all that much. It was not my favorite thing to do. I was really hoping to do like a Gilded Age kind of thing, or World War I, World War II, something like that. But Miss Snyder said they needed a Modern America unit that was like solid, and she wanted me to do it. So I was up for the challenge, and I did that. I did 4 lessons because at the end of the year with EOC coming up, Modern America is the unit that gets squished the most. So they wanted them to be quality lessons, but they wanted them to be quick, and they wanted everybody to be able to understand it. And I did it for regular U.S. history. This was probably one of the hardest like schoolwork assignments that I've ever had, because I wasn't the biggest fan of Modern America, and I've never been in like regular history class, and I love history, so it's hard to judge like a kid that doesn't care about history, what they're going to listen to and what they tune out. So with the Modern America, I did I separated it by like 2 presidents per, it was like 2, 2, 3. And I put the presidents together, and I added videos, I made slideshows, I had EOC review kind of things at the very beginning. I tried to keep the students as engaged as possible without overdoing it or making them annoyed with me and make me want to sit down. So this took me most of the second semester here. I finished these in, I believe, late March. This is more, with my ISM journey, it's kind of flip-flopped. My final product isn't as intense necessarily as my original work is, but they're required to go together. So it took me a while to do this original work. It was hard and challenging for me to do. And then I put a picture of the EOC reviews, because that's what they really beat on me, that they wanted these kids to be prepared for the EOC. So I took the administered release May 2014, which was the one that we took last year. And I took the questions and I incorporated the questions into my lesson plans. I would make, for example, like a warm-up. I made it to where these lessons were very, everything was on paper, and it was very clear what I wanted the teacher in the class to do. And I made it to where you were not necessarily jumping around, but jumping around. The students would never get bored. So I had it to where if I made a PowerPoint, it was the information and then just randomly at, I guess, a point that I thought was a good stopping point, or not even necessarily, I would have a white slide with this, like a picture of the question. So I'd have what that looked like this. I think that one is for the 95, 97, like government, how it was structured, the political parties. And I would have all the students like write down their answer and go around and check them. So that was how I incorporated the EOC into all of this, because the state testing is incredibly important when it comes to a core class. My final product is teaching a class for EOC review. Their EOC is mid-May, I believe. And I think that that is important for me to be able to not necessarily like set the foundation, but just really help them and remind them of everything. They judge these kids on likely, like not likely, and it's all on the EOC. So this test is incredibly important, and I really want to be able to give these students the best possible chance they have to pass this test. So that's what I plan on doing for my final product. And then my final thoughts. This year I've changed in, it's hard to have something due every Monday or Friday, for me at least, because I don't know, it's Monday and I forget. So I've really had to like step up and work hard to make sure that I turned in the weekly blog on Monday and I didn't just forget about it. And there were a couple times where I knew it was due and I just didn't really want to write it, so I had to get past that. And I think in years past I would have been like, well, I mean, is a 50 really that bad? And this year I didn't say that to myself, so good job, Hannah. How this will help me in the future, this experience that I've had is so great for what I want to do in the future, because even if I don't come back to Texas, I still have connections, I've still learned these skills, I've still created my network, and these teachers are able to help me, and I think it's just a great experience. And with this, when I go off to my education program next year, these like other students that I'm going to be with that are in my same major haven't done student teaching. They haven't been in a classroom. They don't know what they want to do. And I've had the privilege of being in a classroom and getting to see these students and getting the background knowledge for at least a semester. And so I think that that really opened my eyes to how I can use this in my career later in life. My plans for next year, I plan on attending Kansas State. I'm going to major in secondary education with like relation to U.S. history, so pretty much exactly what I'm doing now. And then I'm also doing a history minor. It's important for me to have as much content classes as I can, so I'm trying to get as much history as I can. Eventually, I would love to become a college professor. I would really like to teach like U.S. to 1865, so like all, you know what those years are, all of that. But in order to do that, you have to be published, you have to have a master's. There's a lot of extra work that goes into that, and I don't want to be, this is going to sound horrible, but I don't want to be at like Collin. I want to be somewhere where I feel like the students are actually like there to learn, and they really want a good teacher, and I want to be able to help them and really be around students that would love to learn history also. So I would love to do that. And I think that it's important for teaching as we continue to progress. Our society is becoming more of a standardized testing society. We don't necessarily focus on how you can help the students as we do how you can help them pass a test. and students are all different. I don't test well, but I love history, and I've gotten like 85s on history tests when I should have gotten 100, and I know the material. I'm not good at taking tests, and there are a lot of kids like that out there, and I want to be able to help them. I want to be able to come up with different solutions for standardized testing. I think that it's just very important to do. I was at a mentor visit a couple weeks ago, and there was this sweet little kid. He was probably, I don't know, maybe a sophomore. He was so nice. He was taking a read test, or I guess like an alternative test, where it only had 3 answer choices, and he got it read to him. And Miss Snyder was reading it to him, and he just was so sweet. The second I walked in, he was like, "Hi," and it was only the 2 of them in there. And then I sort of just ignored him, did my own thing, and he was still taking the test. And Miss Snyder like left the room, and he turned over to me, and he was like, "So how are you today?" And he just was so sweet, and he cared about like how I was doing, and he didn't even care that he probably didn't do well on that test. He was just focused on like how I was doing, and he was so nice. And Miss Snyder, I asked Miss Snyder about him, and she said that he was very, he had a lot of like struggles at home, and that he wasn't very likely to pass the EOC, which means you're not very likely to graduate. But college necessarily isn't for him. He should go somewhere where it's customer service oriented, and that's what Miss Snyder thought he should do. And just getting to talk to him for a little bit, it made sense. But because he can't do well on a test, he's not going to graduate high school. And I don't see how that's fair, and I would love to help him and other students that are like him, so that way they have a fair shot and they get a good go around. So that's what I plan on doing for the future. And that was my presentation. Like I said, I'm in U.S. History for Education, and thank you. Yeah.